Well, the story that really led me here was from a few months back. It was October to be exact, a Monday afternoon, the day I was home early from work, and I stood on my stove prepping dinner as my then 6-year-old son, Tyler, lay on the floor behind me, completely absorbed into his iPad, playing Minecraft. And as I stood cooking, I listened to NPR. And that day, the host was discussing the Me Too movement, and it caught my attention. And this caught my attention not because I'm a woman, or I'm a person who cares, or I'm a clinical psychologist, and a lecturer at Harvard in Child Advocacy. It really caught my attention because I'm a mom. I'm just an average mom fumbling my way through raising 3 feisty kids. Cameron's 9, Tyler's 7, and Eva's 4. And my goal is quite simple, really. My goal is to raise good enough guys. Good guys who will go out in the world and feel secure enough in themselves to stand up for women, stand up for all people, in fact, and just not really be the creeps who take what they want just because they can. And how do I raise a daughter who feels secure enough in herself to recognize good guys and not accept the not so good ones? And on this particular day, the host was discussing Harvey Weinstein and other prominent men who were recently accused of sexual harassment and assault. She explored the how and why we as a culture are creating an environment where we tolerate sexual violence, where 1 out of every 6 of our women is a victim of attempted or completed rape. That's insane. And then my mind very quickly went to my beautiful, young, strong daughter, and I thought, oh no, the statistics are really not in her favor. And then I looked at her very small preschool class, and I realized 1 to 2 of those little girls could be a victim of rape one day. And that holy shit feeling you have right now, I felt listening to this news report. When my husband got home from work, I asked him, is this just how guys are wired? Do you want to pull your penis out at work? He's a smart guy and very promptly said no. But as the news report went on, I became hyper aware that there were big 6-year-old ears in the room, and I rushed to turn the radio down, and I had this moment of consciousness, and I thought, this is the problem. We're sheltering our developing boys. Every time there's something difficult or sexual, we rush to turn the radio down or hit the TV off, and our youngest guys are missing out on really important conversations. So in this moment with my son, I had this moment of clarity, and I thought, I need to bring up these topics with my kids. I have this captive audience in front of me. At 6 and 8 years old, they're these moldable little sponges with lanky little legs staring back at me. And my voice matters, and it matters a lot. And according to Piaget, children between the ages of 5 and 10 years old see morality through the lens of other. That means ideas shared by parents and teachers and coaches and government leaders are seen as absolute and unbreakable. And in this moment, it became crystal clear what message I want my boys to get. So I pushed through my discomfort, and I just stepped back to the stove, and I sat there, and I wrung my hands, and I felt nervous, and I thought, what am I going to say to Tyler? How am I going to bring this topic up with him? So I just pushed through it. I got some confidence, and I just said, hey, Ty, are you listening to this? Did you hear this really famous movie guy was touching women when they didn't want to be touched? And he was saying inappropriate things, and now he's in really big trouble. And there's a chance he could go to jail. And I just stood back to the stove, and I felt nervous, and then during this time I had these images of Tyler on the playground butchering the story to his friends, with parents calling me being like, what the hell are you telling your kid? What the hell's your kid telling my kid? And then Ty just pops his head up, and he has these big blue eyes, and he just looks at me, and he says, very matter-of-factly, he's not traumatized, he's not shocked, he just looks at me, and he says, what? That's illegal? Didn't Trump do that? I pretty much fell to the floor. But I'm not here to make political statements. I'm here to talk about the messaging in our community and how our littlest kids are hearing things that we don't even realize they're hearing. These messages are getting internalized and wedged into their developing brains and bodies. So I just simply said to Ty, yes, bud, you're right. Unfortunately, Trump did say inappropriate things, and that's not okay. We don't do that in our family. I don't do that, Dad doesn't do that, and you're not to do that either. Got it? Sure, Mom. And back to his iPad. So in this quick little interaction, my head's spinning as a parent, but he just nonchalantly hops back into his Minecraft. And in this moment, I realize I need to push through my discomfort and bring these things up to him. It was very easy for him to just hop into this conversation, and it was really my thing that I was avoiding. So days and weeks went by, and I thought a lot about how my kids are exposed to so much messaging I don't agree with that will shape their future thoughts and their behaviors. And then I thought, this extends so much deeper than just speaking about sexual responsibility. It's really about gender inequality and how we, particularly our boys and men, see our girls and women. So what do we do about this? What do I do about this? What do you do about this? How do we bring this up with our children? What are we to do here? The thing is, we need to talk about it, but our psychology and our socialization get in the way a bit, and I'll tell you why. And the first way is through something called implicit gender bias. And this is when we make assumptions about others based on their gender. Our brain is always looking for shortcuts, trying to work as efficiently as possible. But because of that, we put people into mental buckets. Girls, pink, sweet, fragile. Boys, active, strong, blue. And the best people with the best intentions do this. So some might say boys and girls are just built differently. And that's partially true. But science tells us that the brains of men and women are about 90% similar. That means gender roles are mostly socially constructed. And even the people with the best intentions do this. Our brains aren't trying to be mean or cruel or unfair. They're just trying to work efficiently and use prior information we've learned from our parents and families, to make assumptions about current information. And that becomes our worldview. So a large study done by Harvard from 2005 to 2015 found that 76% of people, men and women, believe that men are more suited for careers and women for homemaking. That's a recent study, 2005 to 2015, 200,000 people, a big study, and 76% of those people believe, either consciously or unconsciously, men are better suited for careers and women for homemaking. Insane, no? So I encourage you to accept that this happens. You don't need to self-criticize or judge yourself, but accept that we all do this and we need to notice this. We need to notice these automatic thoughts and make a different choice about how we respond. A thought is just a neural firing, and we have a choice in how we respond and we behave. So what do we do about this? We need to notice this in ourselves, and we need to choose something different. You have to think about how gender bias comes up for you. Have you ever said men are more physical or more aggressive and women are more emotional and dramatic? That's gender bias, my friends. We all do it. It's a brain thing, and we need to notice what we're thinking and make a different choice about how we respond. So I'm not here to finger wag bad boys or bad ambivalent feminists, but I'm here to encourage us all, myself included, to get more conscious. The next generation of Louis C.K.'s and Kevin Spacey's and Mario Batali's are on the playground learning their ABCs, and we need to change the cultural dialogue they hear. I hope those aren't my sons or the kids you know from home or your cousins, but the reality is some of them are. So we have a choice. We can wait and see if it's our kids who happen to be the ones who pushes the girl past her comfort level as he fumbles to figure out his own sexuality, or worse, becomes the guy who takes advantage of his young female coworkers just because he can. Or we can say something now and change the cultural dialogue that our kids are hearing. And what research tells us is that Rapists will say, yes, I've had non-consensual sex, but they don't see themselves as rapists. And what we also know is that for these guys, these transgressions start early. They start in high school, they start in college, and they start with people they know. So I know I need to talk to my boys before they get to that point. I need to talk to them when they're kids, and I need to change what they're hearing and prioritize gender equality and safe boundaries. I hear people say, if we just raise gentlemen, this wouldn't be a problem. What mother doesn't want to raise a gentleman? I really hope to raise a sexually coercive son, says no mother ever. But kids need tools. Be specific, go deeper, say more, and start early. And this is really not just about parenting, it's about leadership. A leader is someone who goes first when it's uncomfortable. So be a leader in this. Bring up these topics, bring up these conversations, and set the tone for the youngest boys and the youngest kids you have in your life. So in summary, notice gender inequality and gender bias. Have some self-compassion, some self-awareness, and speak up and say something different. The repair is more important than the rupture. And lastly, talk to our kids early. Push through your own discomfort and your own anxiety, and be the one who's setting the tone in our community, in our culture. Be a leader in this. Speak up. It doesn't have to be perfect, but just say something. This matters more than you think.